Hello friends, I'm here today to share with you what was going to be my October wrap up. And then when I sat down to film, I realized I never did a September wrap up. So I'm going to throw those books in kind of quickly here at the beginning. To start off with, I listened to I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. I didn't give this a rating just because it feels kind of weird to give somebody's life story a rating. But I thought this was very interesting. It was very sad at parts, a huge trigger warning for child abuse, for eating disorders. And I really liked the audiobook because Jennette McCurdy herself does the narration for it. And it was very difficult to hear some of the things that as a child happened to her and she thought was totally normal. So I highly recommend this. But just know that it's a tough one to listen to or read. Next was The Duke Who Didn't by Courtney Milan. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. There were just parts of it that seemed to drag on a little bit, and so I wish that it had been a tad bit shorter. Then I listened to the audiobook of Crimes of Passion by Jack Harbin. I gave this one 3 stars. I don't think a full cast narration is for me. It just kind of felt like I should be watching something, but I couldn't look down at my phone and see what was happening. And it just it threw me off a little bit. And so I don't think that was for me. But overall, the story, the romance was cute. Then I read the Legacy series by Rebecca Yarros. That is Point of Origin. I gave 4 stars. Ignite, I gave 4 stars. And Reason to Believe, I gave 5 stars. After that, I listened to Not My Type by Evie Mitchell. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I thought the representation was really good, but that the characters were a tad bit dull. And as far as the romance, I think I would have believed a sexual relationship, but not a love between them. After that was Baking Me Crazy by Carla Sorensen. I gave this one 4 stars. I don't love a friends to lovers, and that's basically what this was. I did appreciate that the guy told her he had feelings for her, and then she was like, that changes our entire friendship because I didn't know that you felt that way, and I really appreciated that they had that conversation. But then nothing else happened with that, and it was kind of a letdown for me. I thought we were finally going to get something different out of Friends to Lovers, and we didn't. Next I read You Loved Me Once by Corinne Michaels. And I gave this one 2 stars, but I may even change it down to 1 because this book was terrible. Terrible. I don't know, I don't know the publishing industry. I don't know how many eyes were on this story, on this book, before it got published to readers. But y'all, I'm going to read you what I wrote here. What a shit show. An actual doctor who treats and performs surgery on humans who is so caught up on... Oh, sorry. The dot of an I threw me off there. Who's so caught up on an ex that she can't have a serious relationship. Sees that ex with his new wife, her new patient, and I'm supposed to believe that makes her ready to move on to date another doctor. A doctor who doesn't see a problem with overseeing his girlfriend's clinical trials, and she changed medicine so the ex's wife wouldn't get placebo, and everyone just covered for her. Everybody in this book. So yeah, that's a spoiler, by the way. Probably should have put that in ahead of time. But y'all, she was a doctor, she was a gynecologist, and she was doing this testing on patients, for patients who had been previously told that they weren't going to be able to have a baby due to, I think it was cancer treatments. And she's come up with this pill that might give them back their fertility. So her ex's wife is there. Her ex had apparently broke her heart and just threw all of her adult relationships out the window. She just could not ever trust anybody. His new wife's there, and he asks her to give his wife the medicine that could help her, and not the placebo because they know that she's dying without the actual medicine. And she does it. She goes into the lab at a hospital where she works, where she's a certified surgeon, doctor, and changes the medicine. And I hated this book. I hated it. And then you would think that the romance is probably with the ex, right? Nope. No, the romance is with the doctor boyfriend who she had at the beginning, who she treated like shit because the boyfriend showed up, and then he covers for her after everything goes down. I hated this book. I hated it. Okay, moving on. The next one wasn't a lot better. I read The Rivalry by Nikki Sloan. I gave this one 3 stars. It was just very dramatic, very over the top. That's what I'm going to go with. After that, I started the Tattered and Torn series by Catherine Cowles. So I read Tattered Stars. I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked the premise of it. I thought it was a good setup to a series, but I wasn't like super in love with the couple. And finally, for September was Heartbreaker by Sarah MacLean. I gave this one 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. Sarah MacLean's writing just really, really works for me. So going into October, I started the month with Garnet Flats by Devney Perry. This is in her Eden series. I gave this one 4 stars. This is a second chance romance between Talia and Foster. They were together when Talia was in college and Foster was kind of starting his MMA career. And then things happened and he ended up married to her best friend. And now the things that kept him and the best friend together, they aren't around anymore. He moves to Montana to try to win back Talia, and it's them working through all those issues. There was a bit of drama with his ex that I felt like was thrown in for really no reason. Like it was supposed to be the suspense element of this book, but it wasn't really suspenseful. Like I never fully believed them or their relationship was in danger, which I kind of wish it had, so I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Then I listened to Ruby Fever by Ilona Andrews. This is the newest release in the Hidden Legacy series, and I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I read the series because of the romance. I guess the fantasy, the paranormal, whatever you want to call it stuff, it's all right, but it's not why I enjoyed the series. And this one had more of that and not a lot of romance in it because they're kind of together officially, not even together physically, because I feel like they spent a lot of this book separated from each other. So this one it was a bit of a letdown for me. So after that, I read Hush Darling by Avery Kingston. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's very character driven though. Not a lot of plot actually happens. This is about Gia, who is running away from an abusive relationship. And when she's on her way, I think she was going to Canada, she ends up lost, she takes a wrong turn or something and ends up in this little town. And instead of being able to find the resort that's there, she winds up at Tanner's cabin rentals. And so they spend a lot of time together. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. There is a little bit at the end where her abusive husband finds her, but it's over pretty fast. And I think it had more to do with the characters coming to terms with their own past, her being in an abusive relationship. That was a tongue twister for a second. And then him dealing with grief. After that was Legacy by Laura Pavlov. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed the banter in this one. This is Harley, who ends up renting a building space from Ford and his brothers to open her bakery. And she gets along really well with his brothers, but there's a bit of something between her and Ford. And it was A+ banter. I really enjoyed that. It does have a happy ending, but for some reason, I just felt like the ending of it needed something else with it. I don't know what, but yeah, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. I do think I'm going to continue on with the series. So then I continued on with the Tattered and Torn series. I read Fallen Embers. I gave this one 5 stars. This is my favorite of the series so far. This one is Hadley and Calder. Calder grew up as a friend of the family, and so Hadley always kind of had a crush on him, but after everything that happens with the sister being kidnapped, her family is obviously going through some things, and Hadley feels like she's suffocated by her mom and not really able to be the person that she wants to be. So one night Calder takes her and they go on this mountain bike ride, and kind of like an extreme stunt bike riding type thing. So Hadley ends up actually doing that even after her and Calder have a falling out. But I don't even know. I feel like if I start talking about this book, I'm gonna tell you just everything that happened in it because I loved it so much. But yeah, they go from friends to maybe a tad bit more, to Calder having to pull back from that relationship, and then realizing that that's not what he wants. And so now here we are, him trying to win her back, win her the first time, since they never really got a first time. Yeah, I loved this. Then I read Lore Olympus Volume 2. I gave some 4 stars. I enjoyed it, but I kind of want them to get to, like, the actual romance soon. I've never read the webtoon, so I don't know how far we have to get into the story for that to happen. But yeah, I'm kind of over the build-up. I want the actual romance now, so hopefully in Volume 3, but I did really enjoy this one. Then I read Hidden Waters by Catherine Cowles, also in the Tattered and Torn series. This one is Addie and Beckett? Yeah. Beckett is just returning home from being like a Doctors Without Borders type situation. And Addie grew up in the, I call it a cult. I don't know if that's a term that's actually used in the book. So she's just kind of trying to figure out how to navigate normal life. And she and Beckett end up as roommates. I gave this one 4 stars. It was good. I liked it. It was very insta-lovey between them, though. So there is that. Then I listened to Hating the Player by Rebecca Genshak. This is book 2 in her Campus Wallflower series. I gave this one 4 stars, too. It might be a 3. So this one is kind of a second chance. They were kind of having, I don't remember character names, and I don't have the actual book yet. So they were kind of having a moment, and then she catches him, like, in bed with her roommate. So there's that. And then this is like a year later, and their friends are dating, so they're spending a lot of time together, and he's trying to win her back. And yeah, like, I don't want to say too much because I'll spoil it, but I just felt like certain things that had to do with him and the roommate weren't fully explained, is the easiest way to say that. So next I read Batter of Wits by Carla Sorensen. I gave this one 3 stars. This one is Grace and Tucker. Grace moves to town. I believe her dad and her uncle and aunt live there, so she moves to town to be with them. She ends up breaking down on the way in, and Tucker saves her and gives her a ride into town. And then all of a sudden they're dating, and he's working with her brother, and yeah, this was very insta-lovey. And then the breakup happened, and Tucker was pissed because of something Grace does, and I'm like, because you don't really know each other. That's why she did it. But yeah, I gave this one 3 stars. I do think I'm going to continue on with the series. Like, I don't think I hated it, but it was a letdown after hearing about Grace in book 1. Then for the Chronically Courageous Book Club live show, I read Shattered Sea by Catherine Cowles, also in her Tattered and Torn series. This one is Lakin and Bowden. Lakin suffers from chronic pain from an accident she was in as a teenager. And Bowden he's an actor? Yes, he's an actor who's come to town to research a role. they're really drawn to each other. They fall in love. I gave this one 4 stars. I didn't really feel as invested in it. I think because it's not technically a member of the family. Like, the other ones have all had actual family members in it, and then this one is just a friend of the family, and I don't really understand why. That sounds bad, but I don't really understand why we had to have Laken's book. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't love it. I don't know. I liked the character individually, but I didn't like her. Maybe Bowden was my problem then. I don't know. Something about this one just didn't really hit the spot for me the way the rest of the series has. Then I read Squalline by Gwen McNamee. This one is War and Grace. Grace is operating a cargo ship. The captain of a cargo ship, whatever the term is. And War is part of a team that needs to steal what is on her cargo ship. So he's kind of a pirate. I thought this was a really good setup for a series. But I wish that it had either been longer or separated the romance between these two characters into more than one book, because I felt like it was very abruptly going from her being taken hostage basically to her helping them, and I wish I had gotten to see a little bit more of that process. But yeah, it was good. I gave it 4 stars. I do think I'm going to continue on with the series because there are some characters that I am definitely intrigued by. Next, I read The Heir by Sophie Lark. I started the Kingmaker series finally. This one is Anna and Leo. They are kids of 2 of the couples from the Brutal Birthright series. And this is then them going off to a special mafia kind of college, I guess would be the closest term for it. But yeah, I liked this. There was just this whole love triangle thing happening with one of the other kids. They kind of made them go from friends to absolutely nothing to 100% together in a weird time frame for me. Like, I know the book takes place over a year, but in my head I was reading it over a couple of days, and I just couldn't, something about that path for them couldn't compute in my brain. And finally, to end out the month of October, I listened to Flow by Kennedy Ryan. I don't have a rating for this one simply because it's not a full story to me. I think it's the setup for Grip. So that is my September and October wrap up. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!